Good morning. How are you all?
Good.
Good. I'm hoping you've learned lots so far, but we want to talk about the TPA just for a little bit, just to get you started. So the TPA, I'm sure you've heard what it is and that you have to do it and all that fun stuff, but it's the teacher performance assessment that all student teachers do. And I will tell you that the majority of the universities and colleges in the state of West Virginia use the exact same one. So you're not, we're not doing anything more to you than they're not doing to other students in the other universities. So it is a statewide instrument that is being used. I'm just going to go over task 1 with you this morning, and then I think we have 3 other sessions scheduled in the next month that we'll go over the rest of them. So right now it is not on live text, and that is because the State Department has added a few minor things, nothing major, to the instrument that we want to make sure we get into our copy. So it will be on live text by the end of the week, but Dr. Watson is going to put the document itself on the web page, because your first assignment before you see me again, and do you remember when that is? Is it next
September
week?
4th.
Oh, okay, September 4th, is to read through the entire thing. I can't stress to you how important it is to really read it. And I know you'll say, yeah, we've heard enough, we don't need to read it. But there are some things in there that are extremely important, and I may or may not remember to tell you those, so I want you to read it. In addition to that, I want you to read the rubric, because a lot of people will say, well, why did I get a 2 on this when I thought I had a 4? If you read the rubric and go by the rubric, you really get to pick your own score. So if you want a 4, then do what it says to get a 4. If you want a 2, do what it says to get a 2. So while I'm talking about the rubric, let me go ahead and say that the rubric is designed exactly like the teacher's performance assessment that the teachers in the public schools are assessed by. In the public schools, it is extremely important that their teachers who are already employed follow the assessment tool, and they are required to get a certain score. You are required to get a 2. Okay, so there's a 4, which is the best. There's a 1, which we don't want, and then there's a 2 and a 3. So it's designed exactly like the teacher performance instrument that is used with public school teachers in the state of West Virginia. Now, you may be saying, oh, I've never had a 2 on a rubric before, and I'm not going to get a 2. And that's okay. You have the rubric right in front of you, so if you want to shoot for a 3 or a 4, please do that. But know that a 2 is passing. So a 2 is not like, if you're thinking A, B, C, D, don't think that, okay? Because a 2 is not written at a C or a D level. But a 2 is what you need to pass. If you get a 1 on any piece of the TPA, you will have to redo it. And that's really, really important to think about. A lot of times when we grade those, students will get 1s, but it's because they left a section out. Or maybe you didn't answer what the question said, or you didn't explain. Maybe it said list and explain, and you just listed. So please make sure that you really look at those directions and follow those. 1s, like I said, will make you have to redo. If it's a minor thing, it's not going to be an issue. If it's something major and you get 1s on them, that could cause you to have to redo the entire TPA. And we don't want that to be the case, but I will tell you that it has happened, okay? So your TPA is going to be due at the end, and I'm sure Mrs. Priest has already told you that date, or will. I think it's October 19th, okay?
Okay, that was the confirmation that I was waiting on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
There we go.
we're just going to go with it.
Yes.
The TPA is due October the 19th, which I think is a Friday.
It is a Friday.
And then the evaluators will have some time to evaluate those. And then you will get a score back, or you will get some information from someone about you need to repeat a certain section, and then you will probably only have 1 week to fix whatever that issue is, and then the evaluator will evaluate it again. If it is not where it should be at that point, we're probably going to have to do some major talking, because you will be in your second placement. If it has something to do with your lesson plan, your unit, your pre and post, you're going to be out of that classroom, and you can't go back and fix it. So the only thing that we're probably going to have you do is redo sections or the entire thing in your second placement. Okay, so I'm not trying to scare you, but I think if I just tell you that up front, you really concentrate on that rubric, and we won't have those issues. I guess I should tell you, worst case scenario is if you don't pass it, do you know what that means?
All of the members.
What happens if you don't pass your TPA? Okay, 2 things I heard. You don't get your student, that's okay. You do not pass your student.
Roll up the screens and
teaching.
take you away.
That's right. And which ultimately means you do not graduate. Okay? So again, I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer here, but really read that rubric. Pay attention to what the comments are that come back to you from your evaluator. If you don't know something, get it clarified. Don't just skip a piece. Don't just say, oh, those 2 sections weren't important, I'm just going to skip them and nobody will notice. They'll notice. Okay? And we have had people turn in things before and they've skipped sections. I kind of think that maybe they just didn't get it in live text and all of that. And usually that's the case, but don't just think that a particular piece is not important. So I know questions are going to come up along the way. You may not have, sorry, that's very sweet. You may not have questions today, but you may have questions after you read the entire document when we meet on September the 4th. So please bring those with you. But I am going to talk about the first task, which is the conceptual factors. And yeah, if you want to pull that up, you can. So there are 3 sections to that. So my sidekick over here, Dr. Watson, in case you haven't noticed him here, this is
He has been so quiet, right?
Right.
I'm not
He
attention
wants some
seeking.
attention,
No, not at
so
all.
please give him some attention. He is going to pull up the TPA just in case you want to look at it. I know you can't read it, but there are directions to every single task. There are 7 tasks. There are directions to them, and then the rubric will be attached as well, so you will be able to see what it is that you have to do. But basically on the first task, there are 3 sections. The first section is community, school, and family factors. The second section is classroom factors, and the third, student factors. So you're going to be addressing each of those. If you want to go to the second page is a chart. And when this is put into live text, it will be one full document. So we're going to have a Word document for you, and we're going to attach charts that go in the various tasks. We're going to have the questions or the statements already there for you with boxes for you to respond to each of the questions or statements. So if it's in that document, you need to address it. So this chart will be there. So you are going to, over in the right-hand column, in this chart, you can just bullet ideas, okay, not ideas, but the statistics that you find. You can talk to your classroom teacher, you can go to the West Virginia Department of Education's page, you can find this information from the school, wherever, but you can just in the chart, all you have to really do is bullet point that information. And then you will notice, and it will be in your document, the next piece is you're going to have to analyze and discuss in narrative form. So if you scroll back up to the first page, in the middle column where it says what to do, the first thing it tells you to do is complete the template that's attached, which is what we just looked at. And then the second thing tells you to, in the narrative, analyze and discuss each of those. So make sure you don't skip that, but it will be in the document itself. There will be a place, it will have 3 different sections for those 3 different sections for you to analyze and discuss. Obviously, it's a Word document, so if you need to expand it, you can. You're not limited on the space that's there. So don't think if the box is this big, that that's all you need to put in. If you need to make the box that big, that's fine, or vice versa. Each task kind of gives you required artifacts in that last column, and all of them have references. So if you use references, if there's anything that you are referencing, like where you got this information, you're going to need to do that. Please make sure that you put that in the document itself as well. It doesn't really make any difference which format you use, although the preferred format in the education field is APA, and that tells you so on the front page. Let me just tell you that when it gets into live text, some of you may not want to go to live text. Like for right now, it's not there. So you may want to go ahead as soon as you start in your classroom tomorrow, you may want to go ahead and start collecting some of this data. If you want to put it in a Word document and then once it gets to live text, copy and paste it over, that's perfectly fine. Okay? Because once it goes into live text, then it will be ready for you to use. Questions on that piece? Yes?
When you put it in live text, is it okay to put in parts of it and save it and
Yes.
then come back?
Yes, you can put in, you can work on it whenever you want. You don't have to wait until it's all done and then put it in. Just make sure you save it, just don't submit it. Once you submit it, you can't change it. Okay?
So TPA will be up on around Wednesday, correct?
No, let's try the end of the week. Now, maybe we would like for it to be Wednesday, but let's shoot for the week, Friday, 4 o'clock, I don't know. We'll get it up as soon as we can.
3:59.
There's only a few minor changes that the State
No
Department
pressure.
made it. That's right.
Not at all.
But, we just want to make sure that we have the final version so that we don't have to put it up and then pull it back down. So give Dr. Watson until the end of the week, and if he needs more, he'll let Mrs. Priest know and she can let you all know. But you can go, that doesn't mean that you can't work on it, okay? You can go ahead and work on task 1. You're going to have that information on the web page so that you can read it, but you can just keep that in your own separate Word document until it's up. Yes, ma'am?
Where I am traveling to multiple schools,
Uh-huh.
do you want one of these for each school, or?
You are going wherever you're doing your unit.
Okay.
So if you're in more than one school or wherever your unit is being taught, that's the school that you're going to put this information.
We talked a little bit about focus class, just for a second.
Right.
But maybe if you could clarify what they should look for when picking a focus class. Because some of them, like she's going to be traveling to different schools and things, so.
So especially secondary, you're going to be teaching 3, 4, 5, 6 periods a day, maybe block schedule, so you're going to have larger ones. So you want to choose a particular class that you're going to do your unit with. Now, you may be teaching the same 3 classes or the same 6 classes, the same material all day long. That's fine, but still pick one class. And the class that you choose, I don't think we really have any guidelines or stipulations, but I would pick one that you're going to get some good information from. I mean, if it's homogeneously grouped and maybe everybody in the class always gets an A and the teacher says this class is a breeze, you can do whatever you want with them. Maybe you don't want to do that because maybe you're going to want to see some differences between students. Maybe you want to pick a class where you're going to see some diversity because there is a piece in here on diversity. You are going to have to pick some focus students as you go through. So you might, tomorrow and Wednesday, if the school has already started, you might want to kind of just look and kind of decide, oh, I think this would be a good class to use because of some other factors. So we don't have any guidelines on that, but once you read through this too, and you look at your classes, that might help you decide which class you want to use. Does that make sense? The document that is going to be on live text, I just kind of want to warn you. Do you remember page numbers from last year? Before, just like the blank template. 80?
I can pull up and tell you.
Isn't it 80-ish?
Yes, it's
Okay. The blank template that you're going to get on live text before you put anything in is roughly 80-ish pages. Okay, that's blank. That's just the shell of the TPA. So when you start typing things in, it's going to add pages. I just don't want you to think that you're writing a 10 or 12 page paper. Okay, when it's done, I would say you're going to be well over 100 pages. I mean, I don't remember the largest one we had last semester, but
150.
I was going to say, we had a 150. So I just don't want you to think, when I just start it and say, oh, it could be 150 pages, you're going to panic. The template, just the blank template itself is roughly 80 pages. So when you start analyzing and discussing all of that, it is going to make it grow. All right, so the finished product is going to be more than that. And watch the words when it says discuss, analyze. That's really what it means. I mean, you can't have a discussion in one sentence. So if your discussion or analysis of whatever the statement is one sentence, I'm just going to tell you that's probably not enough. Now, that doesn't mean you have to write 3 and 4 pages. You just need to make sure that you explain what it is you're trying to say. And if you didn't explain it well enough, you will be told, and you'll probably get a 1 and have to embellish. Okay? So, I don't know, you look sad. I don't know if this is kind of the damper. I'm not sure. At least they don't make me start the day. Maybe I should end the day every session. But
Maybe if you would clarify what mostly goes in those 80 pages.
okay, I will. And then what I wanted to say is, please don't think that the majority of students fail this. They don't.
No.
I'm just going to give you a rough estimate because I don't remember. I kind of put it out of my mind once it leaves. But roughly 100 student teachers last semester. I would say 10 or 15.
You're talking about revisions?
Yes. Maybe
I was
20.
going to say 15 to 20.
Okay, 15 to 20
Yeah.
had revisions. Now, a lot of those, probably half of those revisions were, they skipped a part. So we technically we don't call that, I mean, you're not failing it. You're not failing it until it's over and you don't get credit for student teaching.
We have had
I was gonna
one,
say, out of all the years we've been doing this, we've only had one.
and she just decided she was not going to do it anymore. And didn't do it.
So, don't think that you've gone this far and you're going to get to graduate. You are, okay, but you may have to do some extra work. So 20%, which, when you put it in a percentage, it does sound a little bit higher, but had to do revisions. But those revisions, some of them, like I said, I can remember a couple that I evaluated. Some of the stuff wasn't even there. So when we contacted the person, they said, oh, I put it there. But what they had done is they saved the wrong version of their Word document into live text, and so they had it, and I mean, they got it back to me within 15 minutes. So when that happens, I know you've already done it. It's just, it somehow didn't get there. All right? You also have a video. We're not going to talk about that today, but you will have to video your unit, portions of your unit. It tells you exactly what to video in here. And I'm just going to tell you that you don't want to just go in and say, okay, today's the day I'm going to video, and, I better get it right because that's the only time I want to. You probably want to do several videotaping sessions so that if you didn't catch what you thought you got on one day, maybe you got it in one of your other recordings, okay? So the things that are going to go in the template, or the things that are going to go into the document, like I said, that template being 80-ish pages includes, there are charts in numerous tasks. So that takes up several pages. And then once you start typing in that chart, it's going to expand it. Like your reflections, every day of your unit, you're going to do a reflection. That's in a chart. So once you start typing, that's going to expand. Even this chart here that I'm talking about on task 1, it's going to expand. I've had several students who that particular chart was about 3 pages long. So it just depends on how much you put in the material. Oh, your unit. Your unit is going to be part of the TPA. And I can tell you that the units I've looked at, some of them are 20, 30 pages long. I will tell you in the directions, it says unit 3 to 5 days. Now, before you breathe a sigh of relief, that is statewide, but then it also says, or what your university requires. Make sure you talk to your supervisors, because I think we pretty much say 8 to 10. Mrs. Priest?
Yeah,
What, on
8 to
the,
10 unit.
I said 5 to 10 just
5 to
because on some of them, it just is different,
Yeah, some
so.
of the secondary,
Sorry.
usually elementary, that's okay. Usually it's gonna be roughly 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it does vary with the block scheduling, all that with secondary, but talk to your supervisors about that.
Yeah, the 80-page shell, a big chunk of that is the template for the unit plan, which is laid out for 10 days already. So you're filling in those blanks too, and that's a huge part of those 80 pages.
So we put everything in there that we could to help you. You just have to put in the stuff we are asking for, okay? There is a section where you will have to analyze your data and do some charts to kind of show us the growth from pre and post tests and all of that. We even gave you those, so once you put your data in, it will generate for you. Okay, so we made it as easy for you as we could, or I should say as simplified as we could. But it's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, we've done this now for 3 semesters. I think this is the 4th semester. And so I think the majority of the kinks have been worked out at the state level. And like I said, as we go through, I will go through all the tasks with you. We'll probably go through at least 2 or 3 the next time we meet, and go from there. But just be thinking about your unit. I mean, you've got the first one, which is your contextual factors. Just be thinking about when you get out there, what is your unit going to be on? Talk to your teacher about that. Please, and I don't think any of you will, you're not going to start that unit for a little while. You do have to do a pre-test, so keep that in mind. You will have to do a pre-test before you start the unit. Actually, that's going to predict what's in your unit. Because if you give a pre-test and all the students can answer the questions 100%, then do you really need to teach that unit? No, they already know it. So that may help you determine what you need to teach. Maybe you thought you were going to have to start at the bottom and do some basic skills, but once you pre-test them, they already know that, so you can do some other things. Or maybe you thought, oh, these students already know this, so I'm going to start right here. And when you pre-test them, they didn't know this stuff down here, so you're going to have to go back and go over some of that. So just keep that in mind. So any questions that I can answer, write down this one.
If you can't, that is fine, but is there any way you could give us just like an overview of each task, like,
Oh,
so we can like just be aware
sure,
as we're going?
I can do that. Let me answer a couple other questions, and then was there one over here? Yes.
So is each task, does it have a certain due date, or is it due all on?
It's all due at the same time. Now, I will tell you that some of the supervisors, and I should tell you this, because our scores, I don't want to use the word compared, but they're looked at with all the other universities in the state, we all have to follow the same guidelines. So, which I know some people like to do a little bit and then say, well, will you look at this and see if I'm on the right track? Your supervisors won't grade it for you. They're really not supposed to look at it and see if you're on the right track. I will tell you that the supervisors are not the evaluators. The faculty, some of the faculty are the evaluators. And so we're not supposed to look at it and say, oh, no, you're gonna get a 2 on this. If you want a 4, you better do this. What some people could do is maybe read it and say, that doesn't make any sense to me. If you want some clarification that way. But as far as, are you on the right track? I mean, and I'm not saying they don't, but on the right track, yes, they can kind of guide you in that direction. I think, and I may be wrong, but I know at one point, I think some of the supervisors gave some suggested tentative dates, like task 1 is going to be due week 3, and task 2 and 3 are going to be due week 5, or whatever. But it doesn't, that might just be for them, just to kind of keep you from waiting until October the 10th and say, oh my gosh, I haven't done anything and I have 9 days. And I promise you, if that's you, just don't do that, please. I mean,
Oh,
the
I
stress
can't-
level is going to be unbelievable, and I promise you, that will be a redo. I promise. So don't do that. But, and somebody, I thought your question was gonna be, could you give us a sample? I can't give you a sample. I can talk you through it, I can answer all your questions when we have all those sessions, but I can't give you any samples or what does somebody else's look like. It's just, we don't do that. So, but I will go through, so task 1, you're gonna be doing the conceptual factors. Then when you get, to task 2, and the rubric will be included so you can see what pieces are looked at. Task 2 will be your standards and goals. So you're looking at your lesson plan, you're looking at those standards, you're looking at the learning goals. You're going to be looking at the pre-test, because the pre-test that you're going to write is has to be aligned to those learning goals. Then when you get to task 3, that's your assessment plan. So how are you assessing the students? Formally, informally, summative, formative. There's a chart there as well. When you get to task 4, that's pretty much your teaching, what you're doing. That's the design for instruction. So you're gonna, the big part of task 4 will be your lesson plans. Okay, so you will have those. And of course, we have a new one, so hopefully you all were all able to use that last semester. Last semester was the first semester that it was implemented, so it is a new lesson plan format for the College of Ed. I think it's a little easier to manipulate and all that, but that format will be in the document itself. And then task 5 is going to be the implementation of the lesson, so you're going to have your videos, the reflection of your lessons. Task 6 is the impact on student learning, so that's a biggie. How do you know that your students learned what you thought you were teaching them? Okay, so you're going to be comparing your pre and your post-test scores. Did they improve? If not, why? And then task 7 is going to be a reflection, kind of like a reflection of you on your whole career. So professionalism, I forget there's 4 there, insights on teaching and learning, professional collaborative practice, implications for future teaching, and professional growth. So I would suggest as we go through here, not all of them are really going to be done in order, but I would go ahead and work on task 1, get the majority of task 1. I mean, you can get task 1 out of the way. By the time we meet on September the 4th, task 1 should be done. Now, are we going to start grading it in live text? No. If you want to put it in live text, that's fine. If you just want to keep all your Word documents over here and then, you know, around the 14th, 15th, start putting things in. I wouldn't even wait till October the 19th to upload everything, because is that is going to be the time your computer's gonna crash,
Mhm.
the system's gonna go down, something's going to happen. It's due at 11:59 PM on October the
Do,
19th.
do not text me at 11:50 asking questions about the upload, or, I mean, every
me.
semester, or him, every semester. You know, Dr. Lucas just said something. We had somebody last semester called me bawling, could not even understand her. Her computer crashed. She lost, I think she was able to recover about half. This was literally on the day of the upload. It was a big, huge mess.
And she did not wait until the end to do
No.
it. She was uploading her final piece the last day.
Yes.
I think she already had her video and everything on there. It was a minor piece, but yes, she lost. Now, we've worked with her. Don't think that we said, too bad, we
Right.
told you to get, you know.
Sorry.
No, we worked with her. Everything was fine. Hers was great. But it does happen.
So-
It will
Back up.
happen. She wanted
Save in
to-
multiple places,
Yes.
you know?
And save it continually as you're putting it into live text. Save, don't submit until you're ready to submit the full thing.
Everybody write that down, because that's important. Save, don't submit.
Now, let me just tell you, if you accidentally submit it, just let us know really quickly. Don't wait for a month and say, well, I submitted it and I just assumed you all would send it back to me or something. We can get it back to you, but we're not going to be looking at it until we're ready to grade them. And then that's way too late. Yes?
For the elementary education majors, for our unit, do we do a unit for every subject?
Okay,
For each day?
what I always say is talk to your supervisors about that, because typically what they want is whatever the unit is, then some of them will say, well, I want several days of every single content area, including art, music, and PE. Some will say, let's just focus on, and I don't want to say too many things because I want them to be able to tell you. So talk to them about that and let them give you the specifics, but in a roundabout way, yes. I mean, but it might not be every day or everything every day. Okay? Yes, teacher. Dr.
You were talking about, submitting and then us being able to get it back to them. Am I correct, and I know there's a setting somewhere, but I don't know if it's set up this way, that if a student submits before the evaluator actually opens it, can't the student cancel their submission?
Yes.
Yes,
I know once the evaluator opens it though, that's no longer an option, the evaluator has to.
Right.
So just keep that in mind if
Yeah.
anyone submits and needs to cancel it. You can do that as long as the evaluator has it.
right.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you, I mean, I think the evaluators probably will not open anything until close to the time they have to have their scores back in. But I can't guarantee that some of them don't go through and just look at them all the time. But they have more time than I do.
They must. I don't, because I don't
If they do
either.
it, great. But yes, because sometimes you'll accidentally submit. Now, we had this one time, a student submitted the wrong thing for the TPA and didn't even realize it because she submitted it toward the end, which was fine, until an evaluator started grading it, and it was something totally off. So, so just make sure, if you catch it before we do, then yes, before we start looking. But I can't guarantee when your evaluator's gonna, and I don't know who your evaluators are. Okay, we probably will have about 10 of them this time, and you probably will never know who they are.
If you need technical support questions with live text or editing your video, that kind of stuff, let me know.
Please don't let me know. No, I'm just kidding.
Dr. Watson. Other questions? Did that with the?
Yes,
Okay.
that was perfect, thank you so much. Are the rubrics also attached to each section?
I think what Dr. Rubric, I think what Dr. Watson is going to do, I think we're going to pull them out and make them separate. I know in live text they will be separate. But how are you gonna put that on the webpage? Are you just gonna put the full document with the rubrics after every section, or are you gonna make two separate ones? Do it after, no. It will be a document like, well, you don't have the rubrics in that one, do you?
Yeah, they do.
Oh, is it in that one?
This is-
Okay,
this
it'll
is
be
the way
just
we
like
always
this.
did.
So task 1, and then the rubric, and then task 2, and the rubric for that.
That's why I was looking at you funny, so I wasn't quite sure what you were.
Of course, I'm just looking at the to-do rubrics.
Yeah, no, the rubrics, when you get the directions,
That's
are
exactly what we in live text.
In live text, no, the thing you're gonna see in live text is just a, like a form. It's gonna be blank, it's a template, and you're just gonna fill it. And that will not have the rubric.
right.
It will just be the document that you're going, that you would have typed, had it not been there for you.
Yeah, there's several, when you open up Blackboard, there's like a little reference library, there's a glossary, there's this document that she's referencing today, and then there's the template that you actually fill in.
And then there's gonna be the graph maker, so you're gonna have the graphs are gonna be separate, and you're gonna have to copy and paste those, but those directions are there. It will say, copy and paste into task whatever, and that will be there. So there will be a lot when you look at your live text. I can't, yes, ma'am?
I have a question about the video.
Okay.
So I'm bonus, so I'll be in the class. How do you go about filming if certain students cannot be present?
Okay, so, this, and I'm not sure, I think Mrs. Priest, I think we agree on this, but you will have a release form that will have to be filled out by every student, and I think she requires those be sent to her, no, to.
You
They
upload
get-
the live text.
They get
Okay, okay,
uploaded
you're
to
gonna
live
upload
text, I
those
don't,
as
yeah.
one full document into live text, just so we have them.
Mhm.
Now, for the students whose parents or guardians do not want them to be videoed, I would really talk to the teacher. I will tell you what I tell my method students, and I tell them, if you say, okay, today I'm going to video, and Johnny and Sally cannot be in the video, then the teacher might say, well, I'm going to send them to the principal's office. Well, number one, when you're sent to the principal's office, what does that normally mean? You're in trouble. So they're not in trouble, it's just mom or dad chose not to have them be on the video. What I tell my students is put them, not seclude them, but put them at a table where the video is never going to go.
Well, that's what my question was. Since I'm in a gym class, it's going to be hard to section off certain students from a group.
And it is,
If you go to,
but you could have, I would talk to the teacher. You could have a video set up, or the teacher could be videoing. So if you have a video set up and maybe, I don't know, I'm just gonna say they're gonna do relay races. I would make the video on, see these two rows, but not this one, and I would make sure those students are in this one. If the teacher wants to video a few things for you, please make sure somebody videos for you that it's back, I mean, that they're not following you around and this is all we see, because we're not gonna see much or get anything out of that if that's all we see. So if the teacher is doing the video, then hopefully he or she will remember Johnny and Sally can't be on it, but just say, you know, I'm gonna be doing this today, make sure you don't get Johnny and Sally on it.
Can we also say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, film more than one time?
Yes, that's what I mentioned
Yeah.
earlier when I said, don't just think today's gonna be the only thing you're
Yeah.
gonna record. And, if it's accidentally on there, we're not gonna know who Johnny and Sally are. So if they show up on there, it's only going to us. It's not like we're gonna broadcast it. Not that I wanna do anything that a parent doesn't want to be done, but if it's just a quick little, you know, like this and we can't see them anyway, don't panic. So speaking of that, on confidentiality, please, 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 and it mentions this several times in your TPA, do not put students' names, okay? I don't want to know that you're talking about Sally Smith, okay? I don't want to know that you're talking about Johnny and Sally are the two I use in my class all the time, sorry. Johnny Smith, we'll call him Smith too. I don't want to know that you're talking about them, but you have to be able to identify, because you're going to, it will ask for students in one of the charts where you're going to have to give pre-test and post-test and number them, okay? You can know who number 1 is, and you can know who number 10 is. I don't want to know who those are. And let me just give you a little piece of advice too. When you do your student teaching capstone at the very end, when this is almost over, Your TPA is done, your student teaching is over. You can see graduation here in a few more days. When it's that time, please don't go into your student teaching capstone and say, oh, well, Johnny was my best student in the class and he did da-da-da-da, because I can tell you, we had a student have to redo his or her capstone because the evaluators took that as a breach of confidentiality. Okay? So refer to students as he or she, student A, student B, student 1, student 2, student red, student black. I don't care. Oh, that might not be good. But anyway, I don't care how you refer to them in a nice way, but don't use their names, because there's a good chance that one of us will know who you're talking about, and if it was negative or positive, you wouldn't want your children, your own children, to be mentioned and talked about in a setting like this either. Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Do we have any formal lesson plans that we need to submit along with the TPA, other than the unit?
Oh, other than the unit. You will have to, your supervisor will probably want you submitting lesson plans every day, all day. I'm not sure. But as far as the TPA goes, the only thing you put in the TPA is the unit. So check with your supervisor, because he or she, I'm sure, will say, I want a lesson plan every day, but it's just the unit that goes in the TPA. Anything else? Oh. I said, I'll
Got one more. It's all.
Do revisions to the TPA only occur if it's submitted and is totally unsatisfactory? What are the? Any
one you get has to be redone. So if you, when you look at it, there's probably, I'm going to guess about 45 or 50. That may be slightly high. Elements in the entire rubric, task 1 through 7. And unless all of those are 2, 3, or 4, you will repeat any or redo any that get a 1. So if out of those 10 sections you got a 1 on, you'll have to redo all 10 sections. And when I say section, I'm just talking about the whole. Very rarely do you have to redo a whole task. It has been done maybe once or twice, but usually it's just little itty bitty pieces. Most of the time it's because you did not discuss enough. You just put a 1 sentence and that's really not a discussion. But you will have time to do it, if you'll do it, okay? And usually the evaluator will say, on task 1, part 2, the student did not, blah, 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 and they left this out. So it's pretty specific. Yes, ma'am?
Do you have a completed version that we can browse through to see what we want?
Okay, so I did mention that somebody's going to ask, can you send us a sample? And I cannot. It's just because it's a state instrument and that's the way the state designed it, where they ask that we don't show. Now when I do, there's a couple that I'll pull up every now and then just to show you when we do some of our trainings the rest of the time, but nothing elaborate. I'll talk about a lot and I'll answer as many questions as you have, but I can't do that. Yes?
Will there be, is the video part of task 1 or is, okay?
No.
So we'll have a chance to go into more detail about that at the seminar?
Oh, yes.
Because I have a few questions, but I don't really think they're for today.
Okay, that's fine. We can do it next week because you won't be close, you probably won't be close to videoing on September 4th, but we'll be close to that. We'll talk about that. And if we don't, you can ask the specifics then. Just in a nutshell, let me tell you that the videoing that you're going to do, max 15 minutes. And in task 4, I think it is, can't remember, it tells you, I think there's 7 things listed there that say you need to make sure that you have this on the video, like the opening and the closing and how you do some classroom management and stuff like that. So it tells you specifically what we're looking for, but it's 15 minutes max, no editing, okay? Oh, okay, now, okay.
Way to clarify that, Dr. Lucas.
What I mean by editing is you
Can I answer that one? for you?
Yeah, go ahead.
What she means by editing, all right, you're going to splice things together. So like when we're talking about your opening and closing, obviously if you're a secondary person, your 47-minute period doesn't fit the time slot. So you'll have your 3-minute opening and your 3-minute closing, or however long it is, and you will cut out the middle. That editing is okay. What she's talking about is we don't want theme music, we don't want captions, we don't want to see balloons, appear above your head when you're doing your teaching.
And also what I mean by editing is you get your 15 minutes together and you think it's perfect, and you look at this one piece and you're like, oh shoot, I taught how to add fractions incorrectly, and I certainly don't want that in. So I'm going to go teach that little piece again, and then I'm going to stick it in there.
Yes.
Even though I know I have different clothes on and all that, that's okay, but I'm going to stick that in there. That's editing. Okay? Okay, hold just for a second. So the 15 minutes, it can be as many little segments as you want. All right? It could be 15 one-minute segments. We're not going to get much out of that, but I guess if you want to do that. So don't think that you have to go in and you have to get a 15-minute piece at the same time, because you're not going to get that, like the example Dr. Watson used. But if you turn in 20 minutes, at 15 minutes, we stop watching. So if the best thing that you have done that's going to knock our socks off happens at 15 minutes and 10 seconds, we're not going to see it. Okay, so keep that in mind. Yes, sir.
Then you want whatever video we make all from the same day, same lesson.
We've had this question. We kind of go round and round. Probably, it would be best.
Yeah, what she was.
Because
Go ahead.
editing is going to get in the way there if everything except this one little piece is from a different day. So it would be best if it was from the same day. Let me leave it at that. It would be best.
No, let me just add one clarification.
Okay.
The reason we keep saying film more than one day is if you say, okay, today is the day I film, someone in here is going to have that day be the day the camera fell over, or that's the day that little Johnny, while you were teaching up in front of the room, was sticking their face in the camera like this for 20 minutes. And so some technical issue, something like that. So you film more than one day. So if, heaven forbid something happens, you're not sitting there on October 18th going, I don't have video of my unit. I can, okay, well, maybe Monday was my best day, but here's Tuesday, my backup, I can pull from that. The other thing she's referring to about the change of clothes and why probably one day is the best is we've had an example, we were once given an example where a student tried to claim this was all done, this teaching that she did was all done on the same day, and right in the middle of that little 5-minute blob, her clothes changed. It's like Bewitched, and her clothes changed, and that's what she's talking about. You don't want to do that. If you have a 5-minute, yeah.
You may not even know Bewitched.
Yeah, if you've got your opening is, if you do want to do it over multiple days, I agree with Dr. Lucas, one day is probably the best, but if it happens that you're using the opening from Monday and the closing from Tuesday, as long as you're not trying to say that it was all one day and see I did a perfect lesson on one day, we're okay with that.
And maybe your lesson extended to 2 days in the opening, even though you're going to close it on Monday, but you're going to have to start it again and continue that lesson Monday, and the real closing is on Tuesday. That's okay. But yeah, that gets into editing a lot, and they really frown upon that.
So by opening and closing, you mean you want the first and last 3 minutes of our class period? Is that what you're talking about?
Of your lesson, and we'll go over that in detail when we get there, but it's how you begin and end your lesson.
So if our video spans like 2 days of our lesson,
Is that just something we should make the evaluator aware of? Like, say I started this on Monday and didn't finish until Tuesday?
That'd be great.
Okay.
That would help a little bit,
Okay.
yeah.
Just to clarify, so we're not actually videoing our unit, we're videoing a lesson out of our unit.
Right, that will contain that piece. Was that your question, Mackenzie? Sorry.
Yeah.
I
It's like our
forgot
whole
you.
table.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
I'm like,
yeah, no,
our
you're
whole
not, no,
table.
no, no. What we're saying about multiple times is, you'll see when we go over, like, there's a beginning, and I think, you know, we want to see some content, something that you're teaching, and I don't remember what all's in there. But, we want to see that. So we don't want to see it every single day, you know, of your unit, but we want to see one 15-minute segment. So, but I would video several days, just so you can get what you need. So that was it, Mackenzie?
Yeah, that was my question.
Okay. Yes, sorry.
So are we gonna have a seminar or something that's gonna explain this, because I'm not very tech savvy at all.
Oh,
So I
that,
don't know, like, with all this stuff, I mean, you're leaving me in the dust.
okay, I'm sorry. So let me just real quickly, because I said, oh, I can finish this in like 10 minutes, and I think I'm extending into your lunch. So have you taken a course that you've done something with live text?
I had to do level 2, but I mean, there's no video involved. with-
Okay, the video piece is really simple, but we'll work with you on that. So if you just upload it just like you do another document.
How do I even get the equipment? That's-
Okay, oh, you can check the equipment out of the LRC, you can use your cell phone, your iPad, any other means of videoing.
So as long as it can be our own equipment.
Yes,
It
just
don't
make-
have to be the school equipment.
Right, that's correct, but just make sure, I would try your equipment first, I would try whatever equipment you're gonna use first. Just make sure that you are able to get it into the computer to download it into live text. Because we have had some issues where it just hangs there and nobody can get it into live text, or it won't get off of your iPad, it wants to stay there.
Yeah.
And, so, we've had to have students every now and then turn in their flash drive, but we prefer not, because we like the videos all on live text.
Well, we are going to have something that teaches us how to do it. But like I said, I've done it.
Okay, so we do not have a scheduled session. Maybe what we'll do is talk to Mrs. Priest, and is there anybody else in that boat? Okay, maybe a couple of you. Maybe what we'll do is, Mrs. Priest, you might want to
Yeah, we can
maybe come up with a
schedule
time,
something
maybe
and,
s-
yeah.
Like I said, I
Dr.
could do
Watson can
something
come
after
in.
one of her sessions.
Sure, we can
So,
work that out,
We'll
no
make
problem.
sure you've got it. We will not leave you.
Yeah, I was gonna
Hanging
say,
dry.
when you get into technical stuff, I
That's
think
okay.
Are you good in the
Okay,
afternoon?
we'll get
I
you-
thought you were free in the
We'll get you
afternoon.
straightened out.
Okay, that's why.
Other questions? I hear about bellies growling.
Yeah.
I just did. Okay, so please do me one favor, that's all I ask. And I know, I've been in your shoes. I know you have a lot to do, you're excited, you're nervous, all of that. You're gonna have a great semester, it's gonna be wonderful, I know. But please, between now and September the 4th, just one little thing, and you might wanna do it tonight because you're gonna get busier as the weeks go on. Look on the webpage, find the TPA document, and just read it from front to end, front to cover, cover to cover. Read it from cover to cover. I think it's, I don't know, 20 pages or so. Just read it so that when I talk about, remember where it said you needed to do this, you're not sitting and looking at me going, I don't know what you're talking about. Okay? So just look at it for me. Have a wonderful experience.